Michael Jackson's name just popped up in the Jeffrey Epstein documents, and the internet went absolutely wild. Headlines screaming Michael Jackson linked to Epstein flooded every platform, and people couldn't stop talking. Social media blew up overnight. Everyone's throwing opinions around. But here's what some argue isn't being said.
I would imagine you believe that children are being abused by in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
So why are you sitting down talking to me? Why aren't you sitting down with the police right now?
I've told the police. In fact, if anybody wants to go back to 1993 when I was interviewed by the Santa Barbara Police Department, I sat there and I gave them the names. They're on record. They have all of this information, but they were scanning Michael Jackson. All they cared about was trying to find something on Michael Jackson.
Who you said, by the way, did not abuse you.
Who Michael was innocent, and that was what the interview was about with the police in 1993. I told them he is not that guy, and they said, well, maybe you just don't understand your friend. And I said, no, I know the difference between pedophiles and somebody who's not a pedophile because I've been molested. Here's the names. Go investigate. And let me push this forward. There are thousands of people in Hollywood who have this same information. Why is it all on me? Why is it if I don't release the names in the next 2 months, 6 months, or a year, I'm the bad guy? I'm the victim here. I'm the one who's been abused. I'm the one who's trying to come forward and do something about it.
But
Hold on, please. I'm sorry. There are thousands of people out there, Matt, who have this information. Any one of those child actors that went to the teenage soda pop clubs with me when I was a kid know who those people are and the people who ran it. Anybody can go back through history and look at the teen magazines and say, what was the name of that venue they were all promoting and who ran that venue?
There's another side to this story, one that's been buried for decades. It's about a man who, according to his supporters, tried to protect young performers from powerful figures inside Hollywood, and who they believe was torn down in the process. While Michael Jackson's name is being dragged through public scrutiny again, allegations about a powerful network operating behind the scenes in Hollywood continue to circulate. A network some claim has remained protected and untouched. And the man who tried to speak openly about it, Corey Feldman, one of the biggest child stars of the 80s. The Goonies, Stand By Me, The Lost Boys, everyone knew him.
Saying that there are people that were the people that did this to both me and Corey that are still working, they're still out there, and they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business.
And they are.
And they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now.
Are you saying that they're pedophiles?
Yes.
And that they're still in this business?
Yes.
That's what, and that's what you're saying in your book. When you talk to when you talk to
and
parents,
they don't want me here right now. Trust
Corey,
me. They want me dead.
there are a lot of parents out here who want to put their kids in this business. Their kids are cute, they're great actors. What would you say to a parent who just has the best of intentions, who's coming here with their child? If you're saying that there's a lot of predators in this industry.
It's a many-feathered bird, okay? Be careful what you wish for. That's what I'll tell you. You know, don't go into it with naivety. Don't go into it thinking that it's all roses and sunglasses and
You're damaging an entire industry.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to say that it's a very important, serious topic.
You said that there was one gentleman in the industry who did not take advantage of you. He was not a pedophile. You said it was Michael Jackson.
Of all people.
Feldman has said publicly that he was abused within what he describes as a powerful network in Hollywood. But he has also been clear about one thing. He has consistently stated that Michael Jackson was not part of that abuse. In fact, Feldman has said being around Jackson felt like a safe space, the only place in Hollywood where he didn't feel like he had to constantly look over his shoulder. So let's dig into what really went down. Because some argue this story isn't just about Michael Jackson appearing in Epstein's files. It's about whether the wrong man was relentlessly targeted while deeper issues inside the industry were ignored. And yeah, that idea makes people furious. Some came here ready to call him guilty, but stay with it. Because what you're about to hear challenges a lot of assumptions. 13th, living what looked like every kid's 13th. Living what looked like every kid's dream. But behind those lights and cameras, Feldman has claimed he was exploited by individuals he says were part of a powerful network operating inside Hollywood. And in 2017, he said something chilling. I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is
that there are people that were the people that did this to both me and Corey that are still working, they're still out there, and they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business.
It wasn't just Corey Feldman describing that nightmare. His best friend Corey Haim, another major child star, was caught in it too. At just 11 years old, Haim was already working on film sets surrounded by adults with influence. Feldman later claimed that he knew the identities of the people who exploited Haim, and that Haim knew who had abused him. According to Feldman, vulnerable young performers were being manipulated and taken advantage of by powerful men in Hollywood who acted as if they were untouchable. And here's where it gets explosive. In 1993, when the first allegations against Michael Jackson surfaced, Corey Feldman has said he went straight to the police, but not to accuse Jackson. According to Feldman's own account, he went to provide names of individuals he believed were actively harming young actors in Hollywood.
Send Michael Jackson to jail.
Secret police tapes. Child star Corey Feldman grilled by cops. Cops who seemed determined to get Feldman to say he was molested by Michael Jackson.
Believe me when I tell you that if there was something that I've been hiding for all these years, then I would want nothing more than to bring it out right now.
Tested him, and they didn't seem to care.
If I were doing these things, he certainly would never let some outside person like that see him.
Child star Corey Feldman and the secret police tapes obtained exclusively by CJ. Hello everyone, I'm Holly Herbert. The 80s star and the cops who've seen this strongly believe he was a victim of Michael Jackson. James Les Mitchell has the never-before-heard tape that could rock Jackson's molestation trial.
Nothing ever happened with Michael.
You are listening to an interview between actor Corey Feldman and Santa Barbara Sheriff, obtained exclusively by Celebrity Justice, recorded in December 1993. In it, Corey states not once, but numerous times, his friend Michael Jackson, who he hung out with, didn't do anything improper with him.
If there was something that I've been hiding for all these years, then I would want nothing more than to bring it out right now to make sure that Michael got the help that he needed.
Our last weekend together. Feldman gained fame as a child star in the 80s with The Goonies and Stand By Me. He was just wrapping up National Lampoon's Last Resort at the age of 22 when he was grilled by Sergeant Deverell Linden and a detective looking to bolster their molestation case against Jackson involving another boy. On the tape, they hammer in on Corey's deep friendship with the superstar.
What concerns me about it is that if there is something, if something did happen again, I'm telling you, is that you wouldn't because of that.
No, I can't put myself in the position of thinking.
Feldman later claimed that investigators were primarily focused on gathering information about Jackson. He has publicly stated that he felt his broader allegations weren't pursued the way he expected. That claim remains disputed, but Feldman has repeated it for years. Think about the implication. Feldman, who says he was a victim inside a powerful network, claims he brought forward real names, real allegations, and felt dismissed because attention centered on one global superstar. Supporters argue authorities were narrowly focused. Others reject that interpretation, but Feldman's frustration has been consistent. So how does Jackson fit into this? Listen to Feldman's own words. Michael Jackson's world, crazy as it sounds, had become my happy place. He was adamantly against drugs and alcohol. I couldn't even swear around him. Being with Michael brought me back to my innocence. When I was with him, it was like being 10 years old again.
Got Michael Jackson as a close friend, and I play Michael Jackson my song What's Up with the Youth, and he says, Corey, that's a #1 song. That song literally can go to #1, and if you let me, I will walk it into Tommy Mottola at CBS Records right now, and I will make that song #1. And I was like, thank you, Michael, I really appreciate that. But no, I'm good.
Why? Why no?
Well, because one, I was a real friend to him, and I didn't want him to think that I was just another leech sucking off of his teat to try to get something. You know, that wasn't my intention. My intention was to play him a song and see if he liked it and what he thought. And to hear Michael Jackson tell you that the song's a hit and could be #1, what else do you need?
But did he want to sing it?
No, he wanted to help me go to that place.
Do you regret that you didn't let him do that?
Sure, there's parts of me that go, damn it, it could have been so much easier.
Read that again. A man who says he lived through serious exploitation in Hollywood describes Jackson's world as safe. No drugs, no chaos, no pressure, just calm. Supporters argue that Jackson, who grew up under intense industry control himself, tried to build environments like Neverland, places where young people, especially rising young stars, could step away from that pressure. And Macaulay Culkin publicly backed that up. Under oath, he testified that he spent time at Neverland and did not experience or witness inappropriate behavior. Wade Robson, who later accused Jackson in the Leaving Neverland documentary, once testified to the opposite.
So let's ask about it. What's the relationship that you had with Michael Jackson?
Had or have? I mean, it's kind
Had
of,
both.
you know, whatever.
Let's go with had to
Listen,
have.
no, he's a good friend of mine, and he still is. I mean, everything that's going on, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation for everyone involved, and you know,
How'd you first get to meet him?
I first met him, he kind of called me randomly, like out of the blue. He was just kind of like, hi, it's Michael. And it's like, hey. And the thing
This was after Home Alone?
This is after Home Alone. I actually had met him before I was doing Nutcracker at Lincoln Center. I was playing Fritz, and he came backstage one day, and I actually met him very briefly. And he kind of recognized me because it was after I'd done Uncle Buck, and so he kind of mentioned something. And then he calls me up kind of out of the blue, and it's kind of just this weird random thing. And he was like, why don't you come over to my house? And the thing is, I didn't react to him the way most people did. Most people were like, Michael Jackson. And, you know, I mean, he was a god to people. And to me, he was, you know, I knew he was a pop singer, but beyond that, you know, I wasn't one of the fans. I think that's one of the reasons why we connected, was the fact that, you know, believe me, I call him a jerk all the time. I call him a fathead and this and that, you know,
and your brother knew him too?
Yeah, no, we all did. I mean, he was, you know, a family friend.
And what happened at the house? That's what all these things that people
you know, that's what's so weird, you know.
What did happen?
Nothing happened, you know. I mean, nothing really. I mean, we played video games, you know. We you know, played it as an amusement park. Well, the thing is with that whole thing is that, you know, they go, oh, you slept in the same bedroom as him. It's like, I don't think you understand. Michael Jackson's bedroom is 2 stories. And it has like 3 bathrooms and this and that. So when I slept in his bedroom, yeah, but you have to understand the whole scenario. And the thing is with Michael is that he's not very good at explaining himself, and he never really has been, because he's not a very social person. I mean, you're talking about someone who's been sheltered and sheltering himself also for the last like 30 years, or you know, and so he's not very good at communicating to people and not very good at conveying what he's actually trying to say to you. And so when he says something like that, you know, people, you know, he doesn't quite understand why people react the way that they do.
In 2005, under oath, he stated that Jackson had never touched him. For years before changing his account, he defended Jackson publicly.
And it's nothing happened, is that right?
Yes.
All right, what you're really telling us is nothing happened while you were awake. Isn't that true?
I'm telling you that nothing ever happened.
Mr. Robson, when you were asleep, you wouldn't have known what had happened, particularly at age 7, would you have?
I would think something like that would wake me up.
Aaron Carter, before his passing, also described Jackson as kind and denied experiencing misconduct. These weren't strangers. These were people who had personal access to him. Now step back. If Jackson believed he was creating a safe environment for vulnerable young performers, particularly those who felt exposed inside a ruthless industry, that could have placed him in uncomfortable territory with powerful figures. That's an interpretation held by some supporters, not a proven fact, but it's part of the debate. So what happens when someone becomes seen as a threat inside a powerful system? Some believe they get targeted. That's the argument. In 1993, Michael was at the peak of his career, the Dangerous World Tour, global fame, loved by millions. Then came the first major accusation. Jordan Chandler, 13 years old, and his father, Evan Chandler, accused Jackson of sexual abuse. According to publicly reported accounts, before going to the police, Evan Chandler contacted Jackson's representatives seeking a $20 million settlement. Recordings later surfaced and were interpreted very differently by each side. Jackson's defenders described the situation as attempted extortion, while others strongly disputed that label. What is documented is that negotiations collapsed, the matter became public, and law enforcement launched a full investigation. Neverland Ranch was searched. Hundreds of individuals who had spent time there were interviewed. And you know what authorities said they found? No charges were filed in 1993. No criminal case moved forward. Supporters point out that searches, interviews, and extensive scrutiny did not result in criminal prosecution at that time. Federal agencies, including the FBI, reviewed material connected to the broader investigations over the years, and publicly released files state they did not develop evidence leading to federal charges. Now here's where it gets controversial again. Remember Corey Feldman? He has maintained that in 1993, he went to law enforcement with names of other alleged abusers in Hollywood. According to Feldman's account, he felt investigators were primarily focused on Michael Jackson. He has publicly claimed he was told the priority was information on Jackson. That version of events remains debated, but Feldman has stood by it. So ask the question some supporters ask. Was the investigation narrowly centered on one man? Or was it simply the reality of a high-profile case involving a global superstar? That depends on who you ask. Feldman has argued that he was a victim willing to provide names, witnesses, and additional survivors, and that he felt unheard. Critics dispute that interpretation. What is documented is that when no criminal charges were filed in 1993, Jackson settled the civil case for a reported $23 million without admitting guilt. His legal team stated the decision was made to end prolonged litigation and protect his career. Others interpreted the settlement differently. Evan Chandler received the settlement funds. There was no criminal trial in 1993.
Knew everything there was to know about the often bizarre life of Michael Jackson. More information is revealed. The FBI has released more than 300 pages of formerly classified documents relating to the late King of Pop, including details regarding his child molestation cases. It's also come out a man allegedly obsessed with Jacko's sister Janet threatened to kill the star and thousands of his fans if he wasn't given half of the singer's fortune. In one letter dated in July 1992, the man states he will personally attempt to kill if he isn't paid his money.
Years later, reports indicated that Jordan Chandler sought legal distance from his father as an adult. In 2009, Evan Chandler died by suicide, a tragic event that added further complexity to an already explosive chapter in Jackson's life. But by then, the damage to Jackson's public image was undeniable. Tabloids mocked him relentlessly, the narrative stuck. Regardless of legal outcomes, his reputation shifted permanently. Then came 2003, another accusation, this time involving Gavin Arvizo, a 13-year-old cancer survivor. Unlike 1993, this case went all the way to criminal trial in 2005. Massive media presence, cameras everywhere, global attention. This time, Jackson did not settle. He fought. Prosecutors accused him of molestation, providing alcohol to a minor, and additional misconduct. They presented testimony from former employees and referenced past allegations. The defense countered aggressively, challenging inconsistencies, questioning credibility, and arguing financial motive. Two completely different narratives collided in that courtroom. And as the trial unfolded, the outcome would ultimately rest on what the jury believed, not the headlines. Macaulay Culkin took the stand and said it plainly. He had shared a bed with Michael Jackson on multiple occasions, and nothing inappropriate happened. In a courtroom packed with media, that testimony landed hard. Came Wade Robson, the same Wade Robson who years later would accuse Jackson in leaving Neverland. But in 2005, under oath, he said the opposite. He testified that Jackson had never touched him. At that time, his defense of Jackson was clear and direct. Comedian Chris Tucker also testified. He told the court he had warned Jackson about the Arvizo family and believed they were trying to take advantage of him financially. That testimony supported the defense's broader argument that Jackson was being targeted. The credibility of Janet Arvizo, Gavin's mother, became a central issue during the trial. The defense highlighted inconsistencies in her statements and referenced a prior civil dispute involving JCPenney that resulted in a financial settlement. Prosecutors maintained her claims were legitimate. In court, her demeanor and timeline were heavily scrutinized by both sides, and the jury had to decide what and who to believe. Gavin Arvizo testified that the alleged abuse occurred after the airing of the Martin Bashir documentary, a period when Jackson was under intense global scrutiny. The defense argued that the constant media presence made the allegations implausible.
You're telling us nothing happened, is that right?
Yes.
All right, what you're really telling us is nothing happened while you were awake. Isn't that true?
I'm telling you that nothing ever happened.
Mr. Robson, when you were asleep, you wouldn't have known what had happened, particularly at age 7, would you have?
I would think something like that would wake me up.
Okay. Okay, compose yourself. The prosecution's theory is that this witness that they didn't call, but who they say was molested, didn't remember because he was asleep when it happened. Is that right?
The prosecution's theory is if they're called by the Jackson camp, they must be lying. Gee, doesn't that sound familiar? First of all, I remember Wade Robson. I talked to Wade Robson. Okay. I remember this kid very well, and some of the other witnesses will see. And he was as strong as he could be 12 years ago as he is now, with respect to what happened.
And this is the witness who the maid said she saw with Michael Jackson in the shower. Is that correct?
Yes.
So he flatly contradicts that. He appears to be very credible. He says, no, that didn't happen. And this maid, of course, received money from Michael Jackson and therefore has a motive.
And let's remember that testimony. She doesn't say she specifically sees him. Remember, it was foggy in the shower.
Yes.
She may have saw two people, wasn't quite sure, testified she couldn't tell, and now...
Prosecutors argued that public attention did not make misconduct impossible. Again, the jury had to weigh competing narratives. After approximately 32 hours of deliberation on June 13, 2005, the verdict came down not guilty on all 14 counts.
Their words, let a file go free. Hear now the pressure you never saw behind closed doors. Was the jury one big happy family when you went into the deliberation room?
I think prior to deliberations, I think that there was some camaraderie. It wasn't really until we got into the deliberation room and found out what was in people's minds that we realized that we're not all in the same key here.
So it really surprised me when everybody seemed to turn and get so mean. You go back into the jury room, start deliberating. After a few hours, you have sort of an unofficial vote. What were the results?
About 2/3 of the jury were considering Michael Jackson as not guilty at that time.
And where were you?
I was on the guilty side.
No, you were the first one to say guilty. Guilty.
Yes, ma'am.
She said it in a big way.
I said
right away.
I said it in a big way, and they came after me with a vengeance. I really got attacked.
How so?
I didn't understand. I didn't know. I was too old.
And there was a third juror, Katerina Carls, a 39-year-old county government worker who tells us that she too initially believed Jackson was guilty.
Very bright.
She was very bright. She had taken a lot of notes. She knew exactly what was going on. And it amazed me when one of the other jurors challenged this particular juror that she may not really know too much about the American justice system because she had only been a citizen for 2 years.
How tough did it get for the two of you and this other juror? There you are, 3 of you holding out, and the other 9 are livid.
You wind up thinking, okay, if I stay with my convictions, that I believe that Michael Jackson is a child molester and that he did in fact molest this accuser, then what's the next thing that could happen?
Legally, Michael Jackson was acquitted across the board. Some jurors later commented publicly that they found the prosecution's evidence insufficient to meet the burden of proof. Others questioned the credibility of key testimony. The verdict reflected the criminal standard, beyond a reasonable doubt, but the media cycle didn't end. Criticism, parody, and relentless commentary continued. For supporters, it felt like the legal victory changed nothing in the public imagination. For critics, acquittal did not erase suspicion. Fast forward to the mid-2000s. Epstein-related documents are released in waves. Once again, Michael Jackson's name appears in headlines. Media reaction spikes instantly. Photos circulate showing Jackson in social settings alongside high-profile figures such as Bill Clinton and Diana Ross. Images travel fast. Context rarely does. So what do the records actually show? They indicate that Jackson visited Epstein's Palm Beach residence once in November 2000. Reports at the time suggested the visit was connected to financial discussions, as Jackson was dealing with business disputes involving his music catalog and tensions with Sony. Journalist Roger Friedman reported that during that visit, Jackson and Epstein had minimal interaction. As for Epstein's so-called Black Book, entries referencing contact information were reported to be linked to individuals connected to Jackson's business circle, including advisor Samuel Jen, who was later disbarred for unrelated reasons, rather than a direct personal listing for Jackson himself. And then comes what supporters call the real bombshell, the part they argue doesn't get nearly enough attention. One of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers, Johanna Berg, gave sworn deposition testimony. She was asked directly whether anything inappropriate had ever happened between her and Michael Jackson. Her answer? No. She was also asked whether she had ever been involved in any personal interaction of that nature with him. Again, no. That testimony is on record. It was given under oath. Supporters emphasize that point heavily. They argue that making false statements in that setting carries legal consequences. Her answer was clear about her own experience with Jackson, so supporters lay it out like this. Federal investigations did not result in charges. An Epstein accuser denied any inappropriate conduct involving him. He was acquitted on all 14 counts in 2005. Corey Feldman has publicly defended him, yet headlines still flare up with Michael Jackson linked to Epstein files whenever documents are released. Why does it keep resurfacing? Some argue it's because Jackson is no longer alive to respond. He died in 2009. He cannot defend himself publicly, and as long as attention stays locked on his name, critics say, the focus shifts away from other powerful figures mentioned in Epstein-related material. Supporters go even further. They argue that Jackson didn't harm young people. They believe he tried to protect vulnerable young performers from a brutal industry.
Tragic, and it's sad because at my age I should not have so much loss of life, but yet I feel like I'm a 75-year-old man because literally 70% of my friends are gone. 70% of them are gone, you know? It's insane.
It was a very rigorous emotional time, and also, you know, we were young people and teens at a time when drugs looked very different.
And it wasn't because they died because they were random knuckleheads who just did a lot of drugs. These kids were badly abused. Let's call it what it is. They were badly abused. I was badly abused, and that's why we did drugs. We did drugs because generally the abusers were the ones giving us the drugs. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had them in the first place.
Right.
It's nice to talk to somebody that was there.
Sure.
Because it's hard. It's hard to live life with everybody going, I don't know what he's talking about. Is he even telling the truth?
They claim he became a villain in the public narrative while deeper systemic issues went unexamined. That is their position. Corey Feldman, who has said he was abused within a powerful Hollywood network, has repeatedly described being around Michael Jackson as feeling safe. He called it his safe place, and Feldman has maintained that when he attempted to provide names of alleged abusers to authorities in 1993, he felt investigators were focused primarily on Jackson. That claim remains part of his long-standing account. What is documented is this: Jackson was investigated for years. He went through a full criminal trial in 2005. He was acquitted on all 14 counts. Years later, when his name appeared in Epstein-related files, deposition testimony from at least one Epstein accuser stated that nothing inappropriate had occurred between her and Jackson. And still, the public debate continues. Some believe keeping the spotlight on Jackson overshadows other unresolved allegations involving powerful individuals. Others reject that framing entirely. The divide remains sharp.
That there are people that were the people that did this to both me and Corey that are still working, they're still out there. And
There was one gentleman in the industry who did not take advantage of you. He was not a pedophile. You said it was Michael Jackson.
Of all people.
People also point to moments like Barbara Walters challenging Feldman on national television, warning that broad accusations could damage an entire industry. Supporters viewed that exchange as dismissive. Others saw it as journalistic skepticism. Michael Jackson died in 2009. He cannot speak for himself. His defenders argue that the principle of innocent until proven guilty still applies, and legally, he was acquitted. Critics respond that legal outcomes do not end moral debates. And that's where it stands. Yeah, this topic's uncomfortable. And it should be. You don't have to believe everything right away. Question it. Research it. Look at the actual evidence. Not the headlines, not the gossip, but the facts. A man was investigated for more than 10 years, and they found zero proof of any crime. He went to trial and was cleared on every single charge. Even victims from real predator cases said he did nothing. And when you dig deeper, the truth hits you. The people who accused him? Their stories fell apart the moment they were tested. So think about it. Was Michael Jackson framed to protect the real monsters hiding in Hollywood? Because the deeper you look, the clearer it gets. Hollywood didn't destroy him because he was guilty. They destroyed him because he knew too much, and they couldn't risk letting him speak.